Salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here on my YouTube channel. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world: movies, movie news, TV, streaming, all sorts of good stuff. And joining us in studio here today, she was planning on doing it remotely. We ran into some technical issues, but Kimberly Curran is here, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing, Kimberly?
Hey guys, I'm great, John. I'm great.
It's good to have you here. Now, for those of you watching live, we are starting a little bit late. Sometimes, we're at the whim of technology. We ran into some technical problems, but we are up and running now. And guys, we have a loaded show to come at you here today. So thanks a lot for being here. And listen, guys, this is how today's show is going to go. We're going to take the first half of the show to take some predetermined topics, and then we're going to move into the second half of the show where we take your live comments and questions. Now, how do you get a live comment or question on the show a little bit later or on an upcoming companion video? Simple. Just go down into the description of this video and you'll see a tip link. Just click on that, or you could enter it in manually at www.streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip. You'll be getting your comment or question on the show if your comment or question is appropriate for the show. And of course, you'll also be supporting the channel at the same time. And all of us involved here at the John Campea Show, thank you guys so much for your support. Okay, guys, there's been a lot of stuff that has dropped this morning, and we're going to get into it. And none is bigger than news that has just dropped. So we really don't have a lot of information on it. It has just dropped, and that is this. Now, you guys know that Disney doing its premium $30 Disney Plus access thing has been a source of a lot of controversy. It has not done well for them. That's beyond dispute. All the facts and figures point that it's not done well for them. They have lost out on a lot of money doing it, and a lot of people at Disney don't even like it. There has been some very well-known amongst the industry inside fighting going on over at Disney regarding the premium access sort of thing. At least that's what a lot of us have been told. Well, apparently there was somebody else who did not like the premium day and date release for $30 on Disney Plus either. And that is Scarlett Johansson. Now, this, again, we know very little about what's going on here. This has just dropped. This comes to us from the Wall Street Journal. And what they are writing is they're talking a little bit about the situation with Scarlett Johansson, and they're saying the following. They're saying Miss Johansson, like the headline on it is Scarlett Johansson sues Disney over Black Widow streaming release. Scarlett Johansson, one of the original Avengers, is suing Disney for this move. Now, I'm just going to read this. I am reading this and hearing this along with you guys, okay? So let's get into it here. Miss Johansson said in the suit that her agreement with Disney's Marvel Entertainment guaranteed an exclusive theatrical release, and her salary was based in large part on the box office performance of the film. Now, this isn't unusual that actors will have, particularly big stars, will have the money that they make out of a movie will be tied directly to how much money that movie makes at the box office. This is one of the reasons why a lot of the Warner Brothers filmmakers and actors were so pissed off at Warner Brothers when they said they were going to be releasing things on HBO Max at the same time, because that is obviously affecting the box office, which is obviously affecting their salaries, which when they entered into their agreement, they were given assurances that their movies were going to be full exclusive theatrical releases. And apparently Scarlett Johansson was one of them. Her salary was based in large part on the box office performance of the film. Disney intentionally induced Marvel's breach of the agreement without justification in order to prevent Miss Johansson from realizing the full benefit of her bargain with Marvel, the suit said. Disney could not be reached immediately for comment. The suit could be a bellwether for the entertainment industry. Major media companies are prioritizing their streaming services in pursuit of growth and are increasingly putting their high-value content on those platforms. Those changes have significant financial implications for actors and producers who want to ensure that growth in the streaming does not come at their expense. This will surely not be the last case where Hollywood talent stands up to Disney and makes it clear, whatever the company may pretend, it has a legal obligation to honor its contracts, said John Berlinski, an attorney at, I'm not even going to try to pronounce this, Katzowitz Benson Torres LLP, who represents Miss Johansson. All right. Here's the thing. If you enter into an agreement, a legally binding agreement that says, I will do this for this under these circumstances, and then you suddenly renege on your side of the agreement, well, you're going to get sued. You're going to get sued. And if Scarlett Johansson and her attorneys are saying it was explicit in the contract that I was going to get my salary partially based on what it makes at the box office, with the understanding in the contract that it was going to be an exclusive theatrical release, that meant I could count on X amount of dollars. But you sabotaged it by putting it on Disney Premium Plus, stealing money from us. You violated our contract. Now, one of the things I got to say about this, Kimberly,
Yeah.
and again, we're just finding out about this,
Man. Whoa.
is how professional is Scarlett Johansson that she had this going on behind the scenes.
Yep.
And yet was a good soldier, did the promotion for Black Widow.
Yep.
She promoted it. She told people to go out and see it. She did the interview circuit.
She didn't bitch and moan. This is the first we're hearing about it.
It wasn't until
That was classy.
weeks after it's been released that this becomes public knowledge. So the first thing I got to say is, holy shit, is Scarlett Johansson professional?
I think
Because
she's a
I'm not
class
going to
act.
lie. If this was me and you effed me over out of potentially millions or tens of millions of dollars,
You would have seen a lot of this.
oh, you want me to promote
A lot
the
of
movie?
this.
You want me to promote the movie you just screwed me over on? How's that taste? That's what I would have done.
Yeah.
But holy shit, is she
She's a
professional?
class act.
Look, it doesn't matter what your opinion is on streaming and things like that. We're going to get more into the Black Widow thing with IMAX here in a minute.
Sure, yeah.
It doesn't matter what your opinion on that is. When you negotiate a contract in good faith and you breach that contract, look, Disney could have went to Scarlett Johansson,
Yeah.
like what Warner Brothers did do with Gal Gadot and Jenkins,
Sweeten the deal, yeah.
and said, listen, we understand this was supposed to be theatrical, and we understand we're screwing you over. So let us make this up to you. Let us cut you another $5 million check.
Absolutely.
Or let us cut you another $10 million. Whatever we think it would have made in the box office, let us compensate you. That's what Warner Brothers did. And, well, at least with one of their movies, they didn't do it for 15 others. But that's what they did with the Wonder Woman situation. Why they did not do this with Scarlett Johansson? What did they think? Now, I am not walking in the halls of Disney, all right? But what were they thinking? Were they thinking, Scarlett Johansson's one person, we're Disney. She's going to take what we feed her and she's going to say, thank you, may I have another. I mean, I'm not saying that was their attitude. I'm just saying, what on earth were
When
they
you're
thinking?
that big, it's possible.
Yeah.
You know, it's anything's possible. Because you have to think, even though streaming is so new, even though these deals are so new, and on top of it, even though the garbage fire of 2020 kind of came out of nowhere and people had to supplement, they had to find inventive ways for people to see their films. There's also the paperwork. There's the back end deals. There's coming to the table and saying, this is what's up. Let's work together like Warner Brothers did. Let's work together. Let's see what we can do. I know you're getting a bit screwed, but let's sweeten the deal. But look, it's not even about her feelings and emotions, because let's face it, she should have had I believe she should have had a Black Widow film way long ago when everyone else was getting their individual films, because her character is just freaking awesome. But this isn't even about feelings and emotions. This is about the contract. This is business. And she's a class act for not screwing them over and going, oh, really? It's coming out in 2 weeks? Guess what, guys? Do you know how screwed over I got on this deal? She could have played a lot of different cards, as a woman, but I think she's coming to the table as a businesswoman, as a classy professional, and you know what? It's her right. So
it is her right. That's the thing that I think a lot of people got to remember. It's like, if this is in the contract, what are they doing? Again, I cannot believe how impressed I am with Scarlett Johansson. I mean, I've always respected her, but this professionalism is crazy. And the fact that she did not allow her very legitimate grievance with Disney to affect the performance of the product or on Disney.
She could have just leaked her disappointment. She
Oh,
could
she
she could have
totally could've, yeah.
totally skipped a public statement and just told her people, I'm so displeased with the situation, and just kind of leaked it, and so it was out in the water. Hey, did you know she got screwed? Like, this is the first we're hearing about it. She gave what they gave her, which was at home, let's pay $30 and let's be in the theater, this raw deal, and she was professional about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's great because, as you know, when we think of Marvel and we think of Disney and we think of all the Avengers, even when we think of not only their characters but them as actors, there's no bad blood. This isn't like Fast and the Furious world. They
Yeah.
were bickering and so, brought an attitude. We think about Avengers, Marvel, everything's good.
Yeah, like
A-okay.
remember a while ago, like all the original Avengers actors, remember those photos that came out? They all went and got tattoos together. They all got I mean, there's this thing. Now look, I'm seeing a lot of people in the live chat, understandably, saying things like, well, I guess she's never playing Black Widow again. This is business. I mean, look, we've seen all the drama that's gone on for years with Mad Max and the director.
Oh,
and then,
yeah.
hey, guess what? They did business. Business is business. And they worked it out. And now he says he's going to be making more films. So there's that. This could be worked out, but this does hurt. Like I've always said, Scarlett Johansson will be back as Black Widow. Just like Robert Downey Jr. will be back as Tony Stark. Chris Evans will be back as Steve Rogers. But I mean, this does hurt those chances a little bit. But listen, this is an ongoing, developing situation here, guys. And, somebody's asking me, who was asking me this in the live chat? I think it was Carmelo was asking, John, do you think Bob Chapek is to blame for this? Yes. Yeah. I totally believe Bob Chapek and his mandate and his agenda. Every CEO needs to have a mandate and agenda. Those aren't bad words. But I believe his mandate and agenda has directly led to this. And it's really interesting to see how we have never seen, like you said, we have never seen cracks in the Marvel armor.
No.
Even Edgar Wright and Kevin Feige, Edgar Wright was famously supposed to direct Ant-Man. He worked on it for years, and then he and Kevin Feige couldn't agree on what to do, and they parted ways. But even recently, like both of them were online saying, yeah, we've been talking to each other and, tweeting back at each other, and we've had I mean, everything.
And anything that people tried to brew, they were trying to say that Captain Marvel, that there was nobody liked her, everyone in the crew's kind of shunning her. And you know what? Their genuine camaraderie and their genuine respect for not only the characters, but their coworkers shot that down because the bloggers and people, they tried to be like, oh, is there drama? Do you guys not like her? And they were like, honestly, I really felt the realness of their camaraderie. Yeah. And so but every family has their drama, but it makes me wonder, is Kate Shortland going to be the next person to sue?
Maybe,
Is this going to be a fallout? Is someone else going to sue? Is David Harbour going to sue? Because you had deals. It's not like they said, play this character, we're going to release it. However, we're going to put it on an app or something. No, there was a deal and you breached the deal.
Yeah. And the kicker to all this, and by the way, Alex's Movie Corner sends in a super chat badge in the live chat. Thank you, Alex. Here's the kicker to this. This movie's losing money. This movie has lost out on hundreds of millions of dollars, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as we move forward. But guys, listen, this is a developing story. This just dropped. You guys are hearing about it as we are. For those of you just joining us, the headline right now, Scarlett Johansson is suing Walt Disney over the Black Widow release. The fact that it was supposed to apparently in her contract be a theatrical exclusive release, and instead they put it on Disney Premium Plus, violating her contract, and she is now suing them. And again, I'm sure there's a lot of information here that we don't know about yet. I'm sure we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg on this.
Let me ask you this before we move on, though. With everything that's happening at HBO, with new people coming to the streaming platform and more money, more problems, new people, new issues, do you think this is going to be really a landmark move to shift how streaming platforms and studios make their deals? Because now that they're seeing the bite back, what do you anticipate like the fallout will be?
It has to. I mean, look, Black Widow was a movie that, remember, this movie was supposed to come out a year ago. It was made like a year before that. So, like, they made this movie never hearing the word COVID. They had never heard that word before.
Yep.
So I think studios knew already for probably the past 6 months to a year that they need to revisit how they look at doing their deals. This, if it wasn't already abundantly clear that they have to reassess this, this is going to drive it home. This will absolutely have to drive that home, that they're going to have to be, and they're going to have to start working with the agencies, the agents, the reps about how do we now format these contracts? What is acceptable?
Yeah.
What isn't? What is collectively? Because there's some collective bargaining between the unions as well. So now the unions, ACTRA and SAG and everything, they're all going to have to get involved in this now. It's an interesting situation, but again, this is the first time we've seen any cracks in the foundation of the Mouse House.
Absolutely.
When it comes to something like this, particularly when it comes to the MCU. So again, guys, I'm sure we're going to be talking about this more over the coming days. There is a lot more information to come. We're all just reacting on the first bit of news. We're all just reacting to the first headline. I'm sure we're going to change how we feel and evolve how we feel as we get more information, but this is a really interesting story, and we'll probably have to come back in and revisit it a little bit later. Question is for you guys. What do you think about this? Scarlett Johansson is suing Disney over how they released Black Widow. How are you feeling about it right now? Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move into another off the top. And that off the top is this. You know, there are a couple of more, speaking of Disney and Disney Plus, there are a couple more shows on the way that we just heard from an exec at Disney saying Ms. Marvel and Hawkeye are both coming out in 2021. Ms. Marvel and Hawkeye are both coming out in 2021, but we still didn't have any release dates for them. Well, that has changed now, as it's been officially announced that Hawkeye now has a premiere date, and I believe it is November 24th. Yeah, there it is. The Hawkeye series, this comes to us from the folks at Variety, who write the Hawkeye series at Disney Plus finally has a premiere date. The show, which stars Jeremy Renner and Haley Steinfeld, will start on November 24th. Marvel Studios announced Thursday. Renner will reprise his role as Clint Barton, aka Hawkeye, from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, while Steinfeld will play Kate Bishop. By the way, Anna's been watching that show Dickinson on Apple Plus. She's loving Haley in that. She's loving that show.
Oh.
Anyway, and will play Kate Bishop, a Marvel Comics character who took up the Hawkeye mantle after Barton and was also a member of the Young Avengers. So that comes to us from the folks, again, over there at Disney Plus. This is really interesting, and I'll tell you why it's interesting. Number one, the reason why this is interesting is because the Book of Boba Fett is supposed to be opening in December. Disney Plus, and guys in the live chat, correct me if I'm wrong, Disney Plus already announced that they are going to be releasing their, what is it, Tuesdays? Their premium shows are going to be released on Tuesdays.
Is it Tuesdays or Wednesdays?
You know what?
I thought it was
Tuesday midnight for
Tuesday,
me.
okay.
So Wednesdays, yes,
Yeah.
thank you. Well put. So Wednesdays, that's good. But if this series is minimum 6 episodes long, that means we're going to get some overlap.
Yeah.
That means we're going to get weeks where we're going to have a brand new Book of Boba Fett and a brand new
So
episode
excited.
of Hawkeye debuting on the same day. That seems weird. Here's the other interesting
does
part
seem
about
weird.
this. The other interesting thing about this is we still don't have a release date for Ms. Marvel. They just said a couple of weeks ago that Ms. Marvel is coming out in 2021.
We're halfway through. We're more than halfway through the year.
Is it going to come out in December? I don't think so. Are we going to have Ms. Marvel, Hawkeye, and Book of Boba Fett episodes dropping on the same day? I don't think so. So that probably means that Ms. Marvel A is getting bumped to 2022. That seems unlikely, though, because, again, the Disney exec just said it's coming out in 2021. It's not like that happened 6 months ago.
Yeah.
That was just recently. So it means it's probably going to come out prior to November, which makes it weird that they would announce the release date for Hawkeye before they would announce the release date for Ms. Marvel.
That does
So,
make it weird.
yeah, so I'm not sure how that's all going to go about. Kimberly, let me ask you this. What do you think about this November release date? And how do you think this is going to affect Book of Boba Fett? Do you think we're going to get Ms. Marvel still in 2021? I don't know. How do you see this?
Honestly, I I kind of don't think we're going to get Ms. Marvel in 2021. And I think it's funny because we have to remember this is our first year where we've got all the Marvel shows. However, there's still continuing Marvel films coming to the theater.
Right.
And we love our end credit scenes. And with Marvel and Kevin Feige, we love our tie-ins. So we saw with Loki that, okay, you're setting up for some, several films, but we've got Spider-Man coming out close to the holidays. And I don't know. Maybe there's a tie-in from Hawkeye. From Black Widow, we had Valentina. The name. It's
Ellen?
so long.
You mean Elaine?
DeFontaine. Yeah, Elaine. On the end credit scene, so she was a tie-in from Falcon, and now she's tying into the movie, and now she's tying into Hawkeye because, spoiler alert, there was the picture at the end. Isn't he cute? We need to go get him. So things are tying in. So I think, honestly, the tie-in has to do with the films. I think that's why they're announcing it. And is because there's going to be a tie-in with Spider-Man somehow. But I think that's odd. And because it's so odd and it's getting crowded, the year is coming to a close. We're starting to see back to school stuff and Target and stuff. Halloween's going to be next. Then Thanksgiving. The holidays are going to creep up on us. And I think the holidays are looking very joyful because I get Book of Boba Fett and I get Hawkeye. I'm so excited.
Or here's something none of us want to think about. Does them releasing this in November mean they're going to bump Book of Boba Fett into 2022?
Oh.
I just don't know how they release episodes on the same day if they've already said
That's weird.
that their premium shows are going to all release on Wednesdays.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be interesting.
And I'm already buffering at 12:01. I'm already having to refresh.
Right?
And refreshing. So I don't want to have to deal with my Marvel crew and my Star Wars crew. Everyone's typing and refreshing at the same time because I'm a midnight girl. I watch it right away.
We live in the LA area. So that means when the show comes out on Wednesday, that means for us in LA, we're staying up till midnight to watch it drop at midnight. And now we're going to have to stay up till 2 a.m. watching 2 shows back to back.
I'm already napping in the middle of the
buffering.
day like a 5-year-old.
I don't know. Anyway, question is for you guys. What do you think about this announcement of a release date for Hawkeye? How will it affect the Book of Boba Fett? How will it affect Ms. Marvel? Are one of these going to jump to 2022? Might they move earlier? Are they going to release 2 different shows on the same day? Lots of interesting questions here. Question is for you guys. How do you feel about this? Jump on down into the comments section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's do another off the top. And this is another one that just dropped. Just dropped. Literally maybe 10 minutes ago. And this isn't as big as Scarlett Johansson suing Disney, granted, but this is still interesting. Now, we know J.K. Simmons, he played Commissioner Gordon in, in Justice League, right? We saw him in Justice League as Commissioner Gordon, both in the theatrical and in the Snyder Cut version, right? Now, in the new Robert Pattinson Batman, we've got Jeffrey Wright.
Whom I love.
Great Jeffrey Wright, who is amazing playing the new Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah.
Right? Now, they recently announced that Leslie Grace from In the Heights fame is going to be the new Batgirl for the HBO Max property they're doing. Which then a lot of us, including me, made the assumption that this is going to be tied in with Robert Pattinson's Batman and Jeffrey Wright will be her father. Apparently not. Because according to the Hollywood Reporter right now, J.K. Simmons is in talks. The headline reads in the Hollywood Reporter, Batgirl movie, J.K. Simmons is in talks to return to the Batman universe as Commissioner Gordon. Now,
okay.
I'm just like, what? What?
Okay.
What's going on?
Okay.
Okay, so just like the Scarlett Johansson thing that just dropped and I read it with you guys, let's read this. Okay, I'm going to see if I can zoom in on this a little bit more. All right, so this is what they're saying at the Hollywood Reporter. J.K. Simmons is coming back to the Batbeat. The Oscar-winning actor is in negotiations to reprise the role of the classic Batman character, Commissioner James Gordon, in Batgirl, Warner Brothers feature for HBO Max that is casting up swiftly. In the Heights breakout, Leslie Grace nabbed the title role this week. We talked about that earlier this week. I love the casting. I thought she was awesome in the Heights. She was absolutely fantastic. Bad Boys for Life filmmaker Adil El Arbi, and I'm always pronounce these guys' names. I mispronounce names all the time. Bilal Falah are directing from a script by Christina Hodson, the DC mainstay behind Birds of Prey, and the upcoming The Flash. That'll be interesting. Kristen Burr is producing. Okay, so to me here, two major things. Number one, James Gordon coming back. Now we got J.K. Simmons apparently is going to be a mainstay jumping back and forth between the MCU, where he's Jay Jonah again, and the DCEU, where he's playing James Gordon. But the bigger thing here, I mean, this is great. Look, by the way, did you see the Tomorrow War yet?
Oh, yeah.
Right? How jacked.
I freaking loved it.
How jacked was J.K.
And I was like, hi. He was looking good.
Dear God. So anyway.
Yeah.
So here we got, he's coming back. That's great. Okay. But it's like, oh, the bigger news is that, well, then that means that this Batgirl movie is not
I totally thought
cinematically.
Jeffrey Wright would do it.
So did I. I mean, we just assumed. And hey, you know what assuming does? Assuming makes an ass out of you and you. So I think a lot of us just assume, oh, so this Batgirl is going to be tied into the Pattinson Batman. Cool. Because everything on HBO Max seems to be tying into the Pattinson Batman. Like the Gotham series that they're going to be doing, they say is tied into the Robert Pattinson Batman. But apparently not, because if JK is going to be Gordon in this, that totally changes our perception of what this Batgirl project is. Again, I haven't had time to wrap my head around
I don't even know
this.
how I feel about it. Part of me feels a
it.
little... I feel like I need some tie-in, because I feel like as the comic book film world is expanding, it's also getting more compacted, because now we've got Michael B. Jordan, doing the Val Zod version. We've got another Superman version. And then, is Henry Cavill really out? Okay, let me collect my thoughts. We're starting to get a bit jumbled is what it feels like to me. That's just off the top. It's starting to be jumbled. I would like a little bit more tie-in and consistency. I have no problem. I actually like it when films branch off and then there's the show. And I loved, oh God, I can't think of his name, but in Endgame when Jarvis,
Paul Bettany?
No, the guy that played Jarvis in the TV series showed up.
Oh yeah, the guy from the
I'm sorry, it's escaping
me.
me.
Agent Carter series.
Agent Carter.
Right.
I just loved that. I love the tie-ins and I want more tie-ins. This is a bit much. It's a bit much.
I mean, I don't know. It's interesting because I feel like, are we starting to get a glimpse of what the grander picture Walter Hamada has in mind for this universe and what they're doing? And I mean, I don't know. Again, to me, this is a shock. This is a shock, a welcome one, because I love J.K. Simmons.
Freaking love him. I'll take him all day, but I don't know how I feel about this.
I know this is kind of crazy. Again, I just thought so. The HBO, for those of you just joining in, the HBO series, the HBO movie, the HBO Batgirl movie that we have been talking about, that Leslie Grace from In the Heights was just cast at, that we all assumed Jeffrey Wright would be Commissioner Gordon, because we all assumed this was going to be tied in to the Robert Pattinson Batman, because the other HBO series, which is Gotham, is tied into that one. But apparently, this is not coming from Gus's moviereviews.fart. All right. This is coming to us from the Hollywood Reporter. So they're bringing him in. Again, I am shocked.
I'm shocked.
I'm surprised. I don't know how to wrap my head around this. It's fascinating stuff.
I'm going to need to light up my fireplace, pour some rosé, put on some Michael Bublé, and just take a second and take it all in and absorb it, because it's a bit much right now. I love J.K. Simmons. Yeah. All day, but also we'll see if he's in. I'm presuming he'll be in Spider-Man. I say why not, but I'm just like, come on guys, talk to each other. Is everyone that's a question I have for you. Are the creators of the Robert Pattinson Batman version talking to the other people? I mean, obviously they know
probably not
a little bit of what they're doing, but is everyone talking?
No, probably not. I mean, it
can
looks
we get
like
a sit-down conversation.
They're creating different. I mean, this is multiverse. I mean, they're creating different things. Look, Joker was obviously not connected to the mainline DCEU, right? We've known that the mainline DCEU is continuing on. We've known that forever. We got Flash.
And I didn't expect Joker to be, and I don't expect to be, and I don't want any tie-ins.
No, and there won't be.
Just
They
leave it alone.
never will.
Yeah.
So, so they seem to be creating these two different things, and I just assumed that this Batgirl one was going to be a part of one, not the other. They've decided to slide it in with the main DCEU storyline that they've got going on. So it's going to be interesting. Again, we've had no time here, guys, to actually analyze this, wrap our heads around it. It literally just dropped a few minutes ago. So that's that. We'll talk about it more, I'm sure, in upcoming episodes. The question is for you guys. What do you think about this? James Gordon in the Batgirl movie apparently will not be played by Jeffrey Wright, but rather J.K. Simmons, Academy Award winner. What do you guys think about this? Jump on down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys. With that down, let's do another off the top. We got a lot today. And that off the top is this. You know, I have a love-hate relationship with Netflix in the sense that I love their original series.
Join the club.
I honestly think that aside from HBO, HBO to me is still the gold standard when it comes to creating the highest quality series. They are still the gold standard. But I think besides them, I think Netflix is a close second. I think they have done a fabulous job with their original series. I do not think they've done a very good job with their original movies. No. 9+ out of 10 are usually garbage. They're usually just horrible. I just watched another one that I had high hopes for in Gunpowder Milkshake.
Oh,
and I was like, oh God, that was
another John Wick.
And I loved everybody in it. I love all the people who are in it.
The cast, everyone's my favorite, but yeah.
But anyway, they have now look, it's not to say that they've never put out some good ones. Old Guard is one that I love. I loved Old Guard. Obviously, The Irishman. And there are a few others. It's just that for every one Old Guard, there's about 9 or 10 6 Undergrounds.
I'd agree with that.
With Ryan Reynolds. Now, this is interesting because, you know, Netflix has never really acknowledged that they have a problem when it comes to their original films. And it seems like they are indeed now acknowledging that they have some problems with their original films. This comes to us from the folks over at Joe Blow, who they were initially talking, they're talking to Stuber. He's the head guy of all original films over at Netflix. And they originally started talking about 6 Underground because it's now official. They're not going to do a follow-up to 6 Underground, which the original plan was to make a franchise out of. Of course, stars Ryan Reynolds, big action. And, you know, there's some good action in it. There is, but it's a terrible movie overall. Directed by Michael Bay, who I actually like a lot of Michael Bay movies, so shut up. Anyway, but it was directed by Michael Bay. Not so good, not so hot. So originally he talked about how, 6 Underground is not so good. We're not going to do more. But he actually went on to talk a little bit more about how it's not just 6 Underground. It's also the fact, I should say it's not just 6 Underground. It's also basically their original movies in general. All right. This comes to us from, again, from Scott Stuber, the head of film at Netflix, where he talks about 6 Underground, where he says, "We didn't feel like we got there on that one creatively." No kidding. "It was a nice hit, but at the end of the day, we didn't feel like we nailed the mark to justify coming back again to 6 Underground. There just wasn't that deep love for those characters or that world." Now, where this gets interesting is that he goes on to start talking about all their films in general when he says the following: "We have to be more consistent at making these movies more culturally relevant and putting them in the zeitgeist. We know the audience is there for these movies, but I want people to feel that impact in their conversations with friends and colleagues where they're saying, 'Hey, did you hear about this movie Old Guard?' We've done it, but we haven't done it consistently." And that again comes to us from the head of film at Netflix, Scott Stuber. We've done it. We've had a few good ones, but we haven't done it consistently. That's putting it mildly. But I will tell you what, whereas I see some people online right now saying, they're admitting failure. I'll tell you this. I, as a subscriber of Netflix, I am encouraged hearing Scott Stuber saying this. Because what do they say in life? You can't fix a problem until you acknowledge that you have one.
Improvement begins with acknowledgement.
Yes. And until you acknowledge there's a problem and you just pretend like there's no problem, you're never going to improve and you're never going to fix it.
Yep.
For the head of Netflix Film to basically come out and acknowledge, we haven't exactly done a great job with our original movies. We've had a couple of decent ones, and they have had a couple of decent ones. But for him to come out and say, yeah, we got to do better. We've got to do better, because all he has to do is look across the hallway at the Netflix offices and see the original scripted originals division at Netflix and seeing how they kill it on I mean, it's very rarely that they put out an original series that I think is a dud. They do put out a few.
I just
but the majority
Love,
of
Death,
them are
and
great.
Robots, Mindhunter. Like they've got some
On and on. We could see her for an hour.
Wonderful series. But I mean, there's nothing worse than the girl at the party or the guy at the party that walks around thinking they're all fly and they got a big piece of spinach in their tooth. So, and they're looking at people like, nothing wrong with me. You're so lucky to look at me. The best thing for fans is when we see something and we feel unheard, when we're like, do you not see what I'm seeing? Your movies aren't that great. The best thing is when the higher ups are recognizing what we recognize and they do something about it. Yeah. Recognizing the problem is the first step. And I don't think, haha, yeah, you're defeated. I think, nice. You see what we see. Let's move forward. I believe in you when it comes to series. Let's do it with the films. I am really encouraged that they're realizing this. And I hope their marketing department takes note too, because there's nothing I hate more than scrolling in Netflix and realizing there was a great film that no one ever told me about, or there was a great series. So I say that's great. I say it's great.
Yeah. And again, it makes me as a subscriber feel good. And by the way, she stays rent-free, sends in a super chat badge in the live chat. Thank you for that. It makes me feel more confident to not only that he's admitting to us, the audience, that, hey, we haven't been very good at making these things, but it makes me feel confident knowing that he knows it and that he's identified it, because it tells me he's committed to getting better and to making better films. And listen, we as film fans can often make the egregious mistake of just assuming making good movies is easy. It's not. It's monumentally hard. And the fact that they will identify it, point their finger and say,
and it begins with leadership, because how many times did you have storytellers, did you have producers and filmmakers that wanted to go one direction creatively, and the higher ups were kind of guiding things, and then you got a product that you were like, damn, that would have been so good if.
Yeah.
It encourages me that the higher ups are thinking on the level, because I'm sure, and when it comes to the Netflix films, that there are some creatives that have said, maybe we should do this, maybe we should do that. And honestly, it always comes from leadership. So the best thing is when leadership is listening to feedback and they're admitting it, they're not being prideful. Be humble. Success is in humility.
Yeah.
So
and they're
great.
showing it, and I got to tell you,
that's great.
You don't often hear me saying bravo film division at Netflix, but bravo film division at Netflix. Because you know what?
Often, I've never freaking heard you say that, John.
I talk about Dave Filoni sometimes, you know, who's one of the execs over at Lucasfilm. And, you know, I have never, what really got me on board with Dave Filoni was during the making of videos that they did for Mandalorian season 1, and seeing Dave Filoni, who is a big wig over at Lucasfilm, who could throw his weight around. When we saw Dave Filoni on set of Mandalorian, he had never directed anything live action, and we heard Dave Filoni say, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Oh yeah, at that round table they did. Yeah.
And he was on set and they said, I have no idea what I'm doing here. Thank God I've got people like Jon Favreau to mentor me. And when I saw that, I was like, this dude is not going to be a good director. He is going to be a great live action director, because look at his attitude. His attitude is
everything.
I don't know anything. I need to learn. And I'm here with people who can teach me shit. And I'm like, this guy's going to be awesome.
He's going to be great. Yeah. That's what makes you great. It's the people that walk around thinking they're all that, thinking you're so grateful to be in my presence. I have it all figured out. Because you know what? You don't know what you don't know. And when you open yourself up to the criticism and just take it with a grain of salt and take it in and say, you know what, maybe I am not doing this the best way. That's how you turn the ship around and you start churning out things that people are really excited about.
Yeah. So Anyway, guys, the question is for you. You've heard me for ages talk about and lament about the low quality of Netflix original films. But I'll tell you what, I am impressed. I am impressed by this public statement that their leader has come out and said. It gives me faith that he recognizes there's an issue, and it convinces me that he is committed to turning that thing around and to give better quality movies and not just a high quantity of movies. Question is for you guys. What do you think about this statement? Jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys, we got another off the top here. And this one to me is fast. It's not a brand new one,
Fast and Furious and Jurassic Park are coming together finally.
We already talked about that rumor. So here's this one. This one is this. You know, Lord of the Rings, clearly one of the most celebrated franchises of all time. It is movies that you need to go back and watch every year.
It's my rainy day movie pick.
It is. You're going to run out of words talking about how utterly brilliant. All three of the trilogy were nominated for Best Picture. The final one, Return of the King, holds the record for the most Academy Award wins in the history of film. It's shared with two other films. No other film in history has ever won more Academy Awards than Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. It's celebrated. But it's also well known that Peter Jackson and the studio worked very closely together. And Peter Jackson took a lot of notes from the studio. Peter Jackson sometimes, he took a lot of the notes from the studio. Sometimes he pushed back and got his thing. It was a really good collaborative effort. One of the things that apparently he was getting pushed from the studio on that I'd never heard of before was the fact that out of the four main Hobbits, the studio really wanted him to kill one of them off. They really wanted Peter Jackson to kill one of them off and say, you know what? I guess they felt they needed to raise the stakes or something like that. And of course, Peter Jackson ultimately dug in his heels and he said no. Now, this comes to us from the folks over at IndieWire who wrote the following. IGN reports that Boyd and Monahan, now these are the two guys who played Merry and Pippin, and they've got their own new podcast that they're doing together. They just launched a new podcast. But anyway,
nice. Okay.
They just revealed a time when Peter Jackson was being pressured from above to have one of the four Hobbits die in the film, even though they survived in the books. Luckily, Jackson didn't succumb to the demands of the producers, and if he did, Monahan said it most likely would have been Merry on the chopping block because he pointed out that Pippin had too close of a relationship with Gandalf, so they weren't going to do that. Yeah. They obviously weren't going to kill Samwise, and obviously they weren't going to kill Frodo, so it was going to be him. Now look, it wouldn't have ultimately been that big of a deal because, there's not a Lord of the Rings 4, and I'm sure, he would have made it into the final film. But what we would have missed out on is I don't think there's a moment in movies that brings me to tears nearly as much as one of the 17 endings of Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. When the battle has been won, all of Gondor is gathered, on the top cliff rock, and the king now comes through, he's being greeted by everybody, and he greets the hobbits, and they start to bow to the king, and the king says, "My friends, you bow to no one." I'm almost tearing up just repeating, I kid you not, I am almost tearing up right now just saying the line. When the king says to these hobbits, "My friends, you bow to no one," and then the king of Gondor bows down, and then the camera pans back in this wide shot where you see all of Middle-earth kneeling and bowing to these four hobbits. I'm getting emotional just talking about it. Okay? I'm getting emotional just talking about it. And then to have this shot that I have up here on screen right now, when you have these four hobbits, and by the way, all four of these performers played it perfectly. Like they're all
perfect
stunned
casting.
and moved.
I love them.
And like, if they had killed off one of those, it would have changed this scene for me. And I love this scene. So yeah, but listen, one of the things that Monahan said was, Peter told them that it's in the books that they live and we got to stay true to the books. And I'm like, okay, but Peter, come on, you changed a lot that was in the books, but that's fine too. Tom Bombadil, anybody? But anyway, That was there. I'm glad they didn't kill him off. I'm glad that is one of the areas that Peter Jackson stood firm. What do you think when you hear about this?
I'm so glad he
pressure?
didn't give in. And that's like we were talking about how the creatives have their vision and sometimes the higher ups are like, it'll be great. Sometimes just trust your artist. Trust your artist. And I'm so glad they didn't. I love those guys. Oh my God. It's my rainy day movie. I love those films, and please don't ever kill them off. No.
Yeah, I'm glad they didn't do that. Anyway, the question is for you guys. What do you think about, really, ultimately, at the end of the day, I'm sure they wouldn't have killed him off until way into the third film, so it wouldn't have changed an awful lot, but I would have lost out on that last scene. How do you guys feel about it? Do you think a nice, for people who knew the books, it would have been a shock if they killed one of them? Maybe that could have been good. I don't know. I'm glad they didn't change it. How about you? Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys, let me just double check this because I'm not sure.
No, did something else draw?
One other thing we got to do off the top, and then we'll actually get into our main topics today. There was a lot that came out this morning, guys.
Dang,
a lot
homie.
that came out this morning. Now, just earlier in the show today, we were talking about just some of the drama going on over at Disney, with particularly surrounding Black Widow. Of course, we talked a little bit earlier about the fact that Scarlett Johansson is now suing Disney over the fact that they did the day and date release with the Disney Plus premium $30 access as well as theatrical when they had contractual obligations to make it a theatrical exclusive. And now Scarlett Johansson is suing them. Well, Scarlett Johansson isn't the only person who's pointing out what an absolute debacle this whole $30 premium charge thing has been for Disney. Look, the Mulan experiment was a failure. The Raya experiment was a failure. By the way, I like both those movies. The Cruella experiment with premium was a failure. They had some success with a big MCU movie with Black Widow. They made $60 million in an opening weekend with that, but then they stopped reporting the numbers because they dove like crazy. This has been an unmitigated failure for Disney. There's no other way to put it. It just has. And it's caused a lot of tension and infighting going on over Disney, so a lot of people are being told right now. One of the other people who's coming out right now to actually point out what a disaster this whole thing has been, particularly for Black Widow, is the chairman and the CEO of IMAX. And the chairman and CEO of IMAX, he just came out and said some things. We're going to take this kind of step by step through what he was talking about. The first thing is this. He said the following. This is from the CEO of IMAX. There is really no question in my mind that the combination of PVOD and a lot of piracy. Now, the PVOD is talking about, of course, is the $30 premium charge that they take for day and date. That the PVOD and a lot of piracy, people haven't really talked about it that much. Clearly, there's a lot of piracy that accounted for the cannibalization, and it significantly affected the box office at the end of the day. So one of the things that the CEO of Netflix or of IMAX is saying is that, look, obviously, by making it available at home for $30, that's going to hurt the box office. But now, pirates have these full HD, high def, beautiful copies that they can make, and that caused a lot of piracy. That hurt the box office as well.
Yeah.
So that was another thing that hurt. But he goes on, and he brings up some really interesting points when he says the following. He says, every studio has seen the same data that Disney has seen. What Disney did is experiment during the pandemic, which is what they said they were going to do. I remember Disney CEO Bob Chapek saying at one of their investor days that when times are normal, he thinks theatrical is important, exclusivity is important. And I think when he looks at the data and the pandemic is in the rearview mirror, that he'll come to the same conclusion that everybody else does. The way to maximize value is to have a theatrical window. He goes on to finish by saying, it's hard to quantify it, but some statistic gets this. Some statistics I find interesting is that F9, which is the more traditional distribution model, it had a theatrical exclusive release, will gross about $700 million worldwide when it's all said and done. And Black Widow will gross about half of that. Black Widow was a great movie. So when I think about it, there is no doubt that a lot of money was left on the table. That, of course, comes to us from the CEO of IMAX pointing out that, look, when the other things he points out are this. In a traditional theatrical release, you have about 4 or 5 different points as a company where you make money. You do the theatrical exclusive release, you make tons of money. After the theatrical release is done, you have your PVOD. You can buy it on Amazon, or sorry, buy it on Amazon, or buy it on Apple, or buy it on iTunes, or whatever. Now they've sold it again. Then they have their digital rentals. Then they have their Blu-ray and DVD releases. And then ultimately it ends up on their streaming service to bring people in to watch that as library content. They make money every single step of the way. One of the things that he pointed out in this interview that I didn't bring up as one of the quotes was that now you sold it once. You sell a $30 thing to somebody, great. You made $30 there minus their provider fees. You made $30 there. But now, when it was a theatrical exclusive, somebody went to go see it. If they loved it, they went back to see it again in a few days. And then when it came out on digital, 2 months later, 3 months later, they would buy it again. And you were able to make money along that way. In this model, okay, you get some people to buy it for $30, but that $30 could have been a living room full of 12 people. Now those people don't have to go and see it again.
I know people that had parties, little like salsa. I have a friend that did she had like a taco bar. She did like this salsa night. Like after we're going to watch In the Heights together. And afterwards, you know, she got a nice backyard. We're going to do a salsa night at my house. And like 20 people went to her house. I mean, she made an event of it. It was great. It was fun. It was awesome. But that's 20 people that weren't in the theater. The bummer about this is that, okay, to play devil's advocate, it makes me think when we were dealing with COVID, in the thick of it, we didn't know how long things would happen. And people were like, look, and the studios they were on the couch with everybody going, I don't know when my kids are going back to school. Okay. Oh my God. I don't know when I'll wear pants again in a meeting. You know, and so they had to come up with something so that people can get their workout, because at the time it's like, you know, remember we had everyone pushing their film back, and this film got pushed back, and now No Time to Die is pushed back. But then we didn't know when we would come out of the woods. And even if we came out of the woods, you know, before the vaccine was out. So to play devil's advocate, I kind of understand why they developed this model and was like, let's just go with it, because we don't know what this looks like yet. Yes. We don't know when people are going back to the theater, and we don't want to give up on the theaters. They're our lifeblood. So I know it feels like a betrayal to the theaters, because as we came out of things, it was still so uncertain. And also you're seeing
still is.
Now that we've got now that we've got the variant, now we've got the vaccine, the variant is loose. Now that we've got the vaccine, still not everyone's taking it. And now Disneyland the other day, you got to wear your mask if you're going to come into the park. So now we're kind of regressing. So I get the uncertainty of the studio going, look, I really need to go with this model of day and date release. I need to stick with this because I don't know. That's my devil's advocate approach.
Well, no, and listen, I have said the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to test this model, listen, because I have been trashing this model because every bit of data comes out shows that it's failing. It's
failing now that we're open, but if you think of when we were on the couch and we didn't know when we'd see daylight, it was failing, but it was like, look, is Black Widow going to get pushed back to 2025? Like, when are we going to be out of quarantine? Well, so it's hard figuring out life now.
They still could have put it out. But I will say this, and I've said this before. As a company, and I know this is going to sound strange because I'm trashing on this, you need to test it more. Because I always believe if you're going to really test a significant model, you cannot do testing with a small sample size. I believe that this is going to be, this weekend, Jungle Cruise, I think it's going to be their fifth or sixth movie that they're doing with this. And I guarantee you it's not going to do well.
No, but it's not.
They need to test. They're going to need to do it with more movies. And I know that sounds weird for me to say because I hate this model, but at the end of the day, if you pull the plug on it, you have to be able to look in the mirror and say, we really did test it thoroughly to see that it could have worked or that it absolutely failed. And I don't believe 4 or 5 films is enough to definitively say that this was a failure. I think it's a failure. but I still think they need to test it out more. As of right now, Disney has no other movies on the schedule that they're going to be doing this premium $30 release for.
Oh, they don't.
Jungle
I was
Cruise
wondering
is
that the other day.
one.
Jungle Cruise is the last
It's
one.
the last
Okay.
one that they've got scheduled. I think they need to do more. I think they should wait a little bit and then test out a few more movies to see how it goes. Because who knows? I mean, even though it's been an abject failure right now, maybe once everything gets back to normal, having the odd film have a premium release during normal circumstances,
Yeah.
I don't think it'll work, but it might. So they should try it out. So I just think there's some really
But I
interesting
get their
stuff
point
here.
about the pirates, because no longer gone are
Yeah.
the days of the
The little shaky
the
cam.
guy in the background and sit down, baby crying, shut up. That's not what your pirated movie looks like. Now it looks like you got the DVD really, really, really early, and they put like special touches, like these pirates are doing great work. Not that I pirate movies, because I don't. I actually do support movies. But it's not what you were, it's not what you were getting before. So I get that putting it online opens up a new risk. It's
totally
a
does.
total new risk. And so a lot of people aren't even paying that $30.
Yeah.
They're like, what's your password? Let me do my thing and offer this to hundreds of people. You're losing a ton of money.
And I see like Angel in the live chat is saying, keep releasing movies on streaming. It's the only way people will watch them. No, that's not true.
No.
Actually, the numbers are proving that's not true.
Don't lose faith in the theaters.
And you'll lose money. And they're losing hundreds of millions of dollars that they're
Don't
leaving
lose
on the
faith in
table.
our theaters,
But here's the interesting thing. This has always been part of the debate. I talk to people who will say, there are some people like me who the movie-going experience is the best thing in the world. Like, whenever I wake up in the morning knowing I'm going to a movie theater that night, it's a good day for me. There are some people who prefer watching things at home. Why? I don't know. You sit on your ass every day in the same fucking couch watching the same TV on your wall, and you just want to do that again tomorrow? Okay, fine. But if that's your thing, that's your thing. I'm not here to judge. That's okay. We all love different things. But under the existing theatrical model, you get both. There's the full theatrical experience. The studios get to make their money. And then a little bit later, they're going to have it on home streaming with PVOD or your streaming service. The only caveat to
You'll
that
still
is
get the home
you got to
experience.
wait,
Yeah.
what is it? 8 weeks. You
Yeah.
got to wait 12 weeks, whatever. But you get it. You get the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Whereas this current model,
They
is
should go
losing
back
money
to waiting. They
everybody's
should go back
losing
to
money.
waiting.
Yep. Everybody's losing money right now. So I
Yeah.
don't know. It'll be interesting to see how this all, and again, I say all that, but I still firmly believe Disney has to test it more just to make sure. I really do. I honestly think they have to test it more. Even though I hate it, you have to give it a shot.
But that's good to know that Jungle Cruise is the last. I didn't know that. I didn't realize Jungle Cruise was the last one. And
The last one they currently have
that
scheduled.
they have scheduled. But
Yeah,
I think
so
that's good. Yeah.
We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, the question is for you. I think the guy from IMAX makes a lot of great valid points and points out a lot of interesting statistics.
sure does.
I mean, F9, granted, it made some China money, but that didn't account for the fact that it made more than double the amount of money than Black Widow's going to make. And one of them got a traditional theatrical release and one of them did not. Anyway, guys, what do you think about this? We all have different opinions. It's good for us to have different opinions. You may have a totally different opinion than mine, and that's okay. Jump on down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. I told you there was a lot of stuff to talk about today.
So much
because
drama.
only now are we getting into our main topics today. And how do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. You see, you guys come up with them. Whenever you come across a big topic, issue, or story that you think we need to have as a main topic on the John Campea Show, just go anytime 24/7 over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question. It is absolutely free. Hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your submission featured as a main topic here on the John Campea Show. With that down, let's get into main topic number 1. And our first main topic today gets submitted to us by Boris. And Boris writes, "Hey, John. Being Thursday, I hope Erin is here. Erin is actually traveling right now. She sends her deep love and well wishes to everybody, but she's traveling at the moment. She'll be back again next week. I hope Erin is here for today's show because we just got to see her in the new trailer for King Richard. The trailer was great. Will Smith looks like he's going to be giving us all an incredible performance. As a massive tennis fan, I am hanging out to see their story. Have you had a chance to see it yet? And if so, what are your thoughts. All right, thanks a lot for saying that in, Boris. And yes, we have been waiting for a long time for King Richard, particularly around here. Now, of course, King Richard is the new film by Will Smith where he plays the father of, the character's name is Richard Williams, the father of Venus and Serena Williams, two of the greatest female tennis players of all time.
Yeah.
Now, what's made this of particular interest around here, of course, is the fact that we have known for over a year, because Erin was supposed to shoot this. Erin Cummings, our own Erin Cummings, who's normally here on Thursdays, she was scheduled to go in and start shooting for this movie and literally got called the day before she was supposed to go in to shoot with the everything's being shut down because of COVID.
Oh my gosh.
So finally, and thankfully they didn't recast her role a year later. A year later, she got the call. We're back filming again. She went into film. And not only did they film, but as you watch the trailer, who shows up in the trailer? Erin effing Cummings shows up. She's featured in the trailer. She's like in the entire first third of the trailer.
Yes.
Which is amazing.
She's like one of the first faces you see.
She's one of the first absolute faces
I messaged her right away. I was like, girl, oh my God, I see you, I see you, I see you.
Now, Erin wants me to make clear to everybody, because I was talking with Erin last night. She would like me to make clear to everybody that don't let the trailer fool you. She is not like,
girl.
She's not Will Smith's co-star in the movie. She's in a small amount of the movie. She's not like starring Will Smith and Erin Cummings, even though the trailer makes it look like that. So she wants everybody to know that. But still, I got to tell you, I love it when I turn on something, I get to see Erin's face. So Erin will be back next week to talk about her experiences on King Richard for sure. But moving beyond, obviously Erin being in there. Oh my God, this trailer is
smelling some Oscars.
Fantastic. It looks absolutely fantastic. Now, this comes to us from the folks, where are we at? This comes to us from the folks over at Joe Blow, who write the following. Led by Will Smith in what could be an Oscar-worthy role. That's the first thing I thought when I saw this trailer. It's like, like Big Willie's going for another Oscar nom. Yeah. Anyway, King Richard chronicles the rise of Venus and Serena Williams from the city of Compton to the courts of Wimbledon. Not just an aspirational tale, but one of commitment and perseverance. This movie looks like a surefire showcase for what Smith can achieve as an actor when not shooting guns or cracking wise. Closer to 6 degrees of separation than the schmaltzy The Pursuit of Happiness. King Richard looks to be game, set, match. Joe Blow, see you did there. Oh, you're so clever. Anyway, honestly and truly, the trailer was fantastic. I mean, I was watching this and Will Smith is such a huge personality.
Yeah.
That when he shows up in something, it's hard not to see Will Smith. I didn't see Will Smith about after 5 or 10 seconds into this trailer. I just saw this character and he played it so well. It was great seeing John Bernthal pop up in there as well.
I know, right?
Which was, I totally forgot that he was even appearing in this. This movie looks fantastic. And obviously, I'm not going to deny I'm a little bit biased because Erin's in it, but still looked great to me. Kim, you had a chance to see this trailer. What do you think about it?
It looked awesome. I'm very excited, and I'm excited to hear the story. I mean, because you hear news clips here and there, but in terms of, as a parent, I'm not a parent. I've got nephews and nieces, but when your kid is real little and they throw a ball and you're like, did you see that? Olympic material. Did you see that? Did you see the way they threw the angle of the ball? Like, as a proud parent, everyone thinks their kid's going to be a star. But when you have a child and you start watching them and you start noticing, whoa, my kid is like really blowing people out of the water. When people are walking over and looking at your kid and going, your kid's something special. As a parent, what do you do with that? Because I'm sure people looked at their father and saw them, you see in the trailer, they're playing tennis in the rain. They're playing tennis late at night. They got school in the morning. The story is very interesting to me of parents who have incredibly gifted children and where that story can go. Because you're almost like, is this abuse? And it's like, no, when you've got someone that talented that can make it to the Olympics, that can be a world-class athlete, what do you do with that? How do you keep them on track? How do you keep them out of trouble? How do you keep them conditioning with the best coaches and the best teams? I think there's such a wonderfully intense story there. I'm so excited to see it.
Yeah, it looks so good. Question is for you guys. Obviously, all of us here are probably a little bit biased seeing our own Erin Cummings in there. But honestly, guys, what did you guys think about the King Richard trailer? I thought it looked fantastic. How did you guys feel about it? Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 2. And our second main topic today gets submitted to us by Erin Gray, who writes, "Greetings, John and Rob." Obviously, Rob's not here on Thursdays. "I'm a big fan of the Ocean's 11 films. I am too, as a matter of fact. Even the Ocean's 8 movie that they just did recently. I liked it too, as a matter of fact. A little while ago, you talked about Don Cheadle discussing the chances of another Ocean's film. And I was wondering if you saw that Matt Damon also just talked about it, saying that he'd like to come back for another one. With multiple actors from the originals talking about it, do you think another Ocean's movie could be in the cards?" All right, thanks a lot for sending that in. And yeah, listen, I am a sucker for heist films. And actually, Ocean's 11 is one of those rare examples of a remake that is better than the original.
Yeah.
At least I think it was. And I like not all of them were awesome, but I like them too. And you're right. Don Cheadle recently talked about the fact that there has been some discussions about coming back and doing another one. And now Matt Damon, who's obviously on the tour circuit promoting his new film, he was just asked about it and he had something to say. So let's look at both what Matt Damon and Don Cheadle had to say about this. So first, let's look at what Matt Damon just said. So Matt Damon just said, talking about maybe doing another Ocean's film. "It would always be up to Steven Soderbergh if there was a story. We have lost a couple of our members, obviously, because a few guys have passed away. So we would have to figure it out. We are a depleted gang now." But he went on to say that, yeah, I'm down. I want to do it. Now, let's go back a couple of weeks and look at what Don Cheadle said just a few weeks ago about it when he was asked about another Ocean's film. "We were talking about it, about doing another one, and then Bernie passed away. And very quickly we were like, no, we don't want to do it. But I just did a movie with Steven," that's Steven Soderbergh, "and he said, I think there may be a way to do it again. I'm thinking about it. And it didn't go much further than that, but I don't know. I don't know who all would be in it. I imagine the main group of us would be in it. It would be interesting to see." So this is a little bit of a situation of where there's smoke, maybe there's fire.
I hope there's fire.
Maybe there's fire. But I'll tell you what, watching, what's the name of the girl from Speed who was just an Ocean's
Sandra
Bullock.
Bullock.
Why do I always forget Sandra's name? But in Sandra's version, they heavily teased the original Ocean's gang is still out there. Even the George Clooney character, it was totally cheap. Like when she's sitting in front of his tomb and saying, "You actually better be in there." Clearly he's not. So clearly they were hinting that he's still out there. There was even some whispers about them merging the two different casts, which I would be totally down for.
Yes.
By the way, and you had that movie with Anne Hathaway, Cate Blanchett, and
Mindy Kaling, Rihanna, Awkwafina.
On and on and on. I thought Anne Hathaway actually stole that movie.
Oh, you did?
She was so good in that. Anyway, now we've got a couple of the actors coming out making public statements about it. I'll tell you this. I have no proof of this. I think we are getting another Ocean's 11 film. I do. Whether it be called Ocean's 17, Ocean's 41, whatever it's going to be, I think we're going to get one. I think that Steven Soderbergh is probably working it out right now, like what he told Don Cheadle. I think the fact that Don Cheadle and Matt Damon are both publicly saying things about it, I think we're going to get one. I really do. And I think they're going to merge the cast. Again, don't take that to the bank. This is just me speculating. But that's what I'm taking out of this. Anyway, let me ask you this. This could just be a couple of guys independently saying random things, and maybe it never happens. But number one, do you think that we're going to get another Ocean's film? And then number two, are you down for another Ocean's film? What do you think?
Oh, man. I'm a huge fan of the Ocean's films. I definitely think we're getting an Ocean's film. And I think we're better together. I think they should merge. I don't think you need to separate and do, well, the female version of this and the male version. We're better together. The actors are all fantastic. Steven Soderbergh, he is the king of cool. And something that films, I feel like in the past 5-6 years have been missing. We've had our Marvel films, we've had our John Wick and everyone that wants to be like John Wick. Something we've been missing is just cool. The Cate Blanchett, her character was freaking cool. George Clooney, when the suits, the je ne sais quoi, the heist. We've been missing films with just cool ass people and a cool ass plot. And so definitely I think not only should they do one, but there's room for one. Secondly, I was thinking in terms of either merging the cast or bringing on new people. I mean, of course, we lost the great Bernie Mac and Carl Reiner, but I think Cate Blanchett and Sandra Bullock 100% should be in the film. But there's some new people that I feel like belong in an Ocean's film. I don't know if you have been turned on to Sebastian Maniscalco. He's a great comedian. Super funny. He's been dipping his toe in acting. However, the films that he's been dipping his toe in are Oscar-nominated, award-winning films. He had a small role in Green Book. He was in The Irishman. Robert De Niro is actually playing his real father in a new movie they're working on. Sebastian Maniscalco is getting up there, but you don't have to get someone to play the Italian guy. He is that Italian guy, but he's that Italian guy. He's got the charisma. He's super funny. And I'm like, I think he belongs, when I think of Vegas or wherever they intend to do the film, he belongs in an Ocean's movie. Because I think you need some new blood. You do need some new blood in it. But I think he would be great. But I would also, this is kind of weird, I would also really like to see Oscar Isaac as the antagonist, like in something a little bit more funny.
Kind of played like the
Something
Andy Garcia
funny,
kind of role,
like
from
the
one of
Andy
previous
Garcia
films.
role.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Oscar Isaac, he's such a great dramatic actor. But I think they could do something hilarious with him. And these movies are jam packed with actors. It's like a club of the last Hollywood actors.
It's like a higher class Expendables.
Yes, yes, exactly. Like there'll never be another Brad Pitt. That level of movie star.
Yeah.
Like this is a club, and I'm so here for it. I hope they do it. I hope
really
they do.
They just have to figure out a way to do it and keep the budget reasonable, because all these actors would have to be willing to say, we'll all take pay cuts so we can all do it. And let's see if that
And don't you
happens.
dare tell me you're releasing it the same day it comes in theaters.
In
You want to talk about lawsuits? You don't want to go there with
Nope.
the Clooneys and the Pitts and the Andy Garcias.
No.
Let's not play that game.
All right, guys, the question is for you. You've heard about this. So what do you think? There's two questions here, really. Number one, do you think that they're actually going to do another Ocean's film at some point? And then the second question is, are you down for it? I am a sucker for heist movies, so of course I'd be down for it. Question is, what do you guys think about this? Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to our third and final main topic today. And our third and final main topic today gets submitted to us by Riley Elliott, who writes, "Hey, John and Erin," and obviously Erin's traveling right now, so she's not here today. Okay. We all saw the relationship between Christopher Nolan and Warner Brothers burn to the ground in front of our very eyes with the HBO Max thing that they did. So now Netflix is saying they're going to go after Nolan hard to try to bring him on board and to do his next film his next film with them. With all the movies Netflix has been making lately, including deals with Spielberg, do you think they actually have a chance at landing Christopher Nolan? All right. Thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And this, we talked a little bit earlier about that interview with Stuber, who's the head guy of films at Netflix, talking about how, hey, they acknowledge we have not done a great job with making our original films. We have not been consistent. And that's fair because it's true. Now, Christopher Nolan is probably still right now the most revered name in directing today. I mean, I still think Steven Spielberg is the greatest of all time, but I think maybe today Christopher Nolan, you can make that argument. He's the guy right now. Him, Denis Villeneuve, guys like that. Nolan has been a staunch Warner Brothers guy for years. That relationship is done.
Burn that bridge.
They burned the bridge. Obviously, it was difficult trying to figure out what to do with Tenet, but once Warner Brothers made that announcement that all their 2021 films are going to go day and date on HBO Max and theaters, everybody lost their shit, including Denis Villeneuve and Christopher Nolan, who came out and just put Warner Brothers on full blast, took the sword, drove it deep into their belly, and said F you as they died. I mean, that's pretty much what he did. So that relationship is clearly done. So the question becomes, where does Christopher Nolan go next? What does he do now? And Netflix is actually stepping up and saying, not only do we want him, we're going to do everything we can. This comes to us again from Scott Stuber, the head film guy over at Netflix. He said the following: if and when he comes up with his new movie, it's about, can we be a home for it? And what would we need to do to make that happen? He is an incredible filmmaker. That's an understatement. I am going to do everything I can. In this business, I've learned you need to have zero ego. I get punched and knocked down, and I get back up again. Again, he is an incredible filmmaker, talking about Christopher Nolan, and I am going to do everything I can. In this business, I've learned you need to have zero ego. So listen, they're making it clear. Netflix is making it clear. We want to be in the Christopher Nolan business. Now, of course, every studio wants in the Christopher Nolan business. Obviously, they do. The hiccup and the stumble with Tenet notwithstanding, I'm not Tenet's biggest fan. I like the film, but to me, even though I think it's good, I thought it's one of his worst movies. That's saying something about Christopher Nolan. It's good.
Yeah.
And being good makes it one of his worst.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they want Adam hardcore. Here's the thing, though. It's going to be challenging for two different reasons. Challenge number one is the fact that everybody's going to be going after him. So Netflix is not just going to be competing against, trying to get him away from Warner Brothers, because everybody knows he's probably done with Warner Brothers. Paramount's going to go after him. Disney's going to go after him. Universal's going to go after him. Lionsgate's going to go after him. Sony's going to go after him. They're all going to go after them. So that's problem number one for Netflix. The second big problem for Netflix is this, though. Christopher Nolan has not been a big fan of Netflix. He has made some very public statements about he does not like Netflix's model. He hates that they do that they don't do a theatrical release with their films. He believes in the theatrical
He really
window.
believes in the theatrical
He
experience.
wants the movies to be in theaters first, then put it on Netflix, and he has criticized Netflix heavily in the past for the fact that they don't do that model. And he thinks they're leaving a lot of money on the table. He thinks they're leaving a lot of success on the table. And he thinks they're keeping some filmmakers away, including him. So these are two major hurdles that Netflix has to overcome. Let's talk about hurdle number one. Hurdle number one being they got to compete against the other studios. In this hurdle, I like their chances. Netflix has never been afraid to throw around, even foolishly, they've never been afraid to throw around a lot of money, even when it's not the smart thing to do.
To the point where you wonder how they even operate.
No, you wonder sometimes how they're still in business.
What? That's a lot of money.
There's a reason they are billions of dollars in debt. But yes, they are not afraid to throw around money if it's something that they believe in doing. So when it comes to the competition problem, I believe they can compete with Netflix or with Amazon. Will probably be in that run too. With Amazon, with Universal, with Sony, with Disney, with Paramount, with they can compete with them. So I don't think that's their biggest problem. Their biggest problem is going to be the fact that Christopher Nolan does not like the way they do business. He doesn't like their model. It's not that he doesn't like them. He doesn't like their model. When Stuber then says, I'm going to do everything I can.
Everything?
Says the creepy manager to the young waitress applying for a job. You'll do anything? Oh, you creepy son of a bitch. He says he'll do anything.
Yeah.
Here's a question. Would anything to land Christopher Nolan?
Christopher freaking Nolan.
Which let's look. It was a big coup de grace when they ended up getting the rights to the next two Knives Out movies. They paid $430-something million to get that. That was a big coup.
And they've got some incredible talent coming along with it.
A ton coming along with it. When they signed a deal with Steven Spielberg, it's obviously not an exclusive deal, but when they signed a deal with Steven Spielberg, big thing. This would be, no exaggeration, if they could land Christopher Nolan, this would be the biggest splash Netflix has ever made when it comes to the world of original films. So, understanding that, could they possibly do something they have never done before, which is say, Christopher Nolan, You come here, we will sign a deal for an exclusive theatrical window for your films. We will sign a deal that says we will put your films in an exclusive theatrical window, and then that movie will become the exclusive home at Netflix after it's had a theatrical window. It is something they have never done before. It is completely contrary to their model, a model that has problems, but it's contrary to their model. But you are talking about arguably the biggest name in filmmaking today. And you've got your head of film saying, I need to do whatever I can to try to land this guy. And if you want to talk about bringing instant cachet to your name and your brand name and your company, there's nothing bigger they could do than this. So let me ask you, Kimberly, would Netflix be willing, in talking to Christopher Nolan, to put into the deal, we will make your films exclusively theatrical, and then we will make Netflix's exclusive home after a theatrical window, something they have never done? Would they be willing to do it? And number two, if they do, does that get Christopher Nolan's interest? What do you think happens?
Oh my gosh. I think if you want Christopher Nolan, that's what you're going to have to do, because he truly, truly believes in the theatrical experience. To him, it's not like, oh, well, the world's changing, so we got to change. And he's like, look, the kind of movies I make, you need to be in the seat with that screen, with that surround sound. So I think unless that's what you're going to do, if you say you're going to go the extra mile, if you say you're going to go there, that's where you're going to have to go to get him. The funny thing is, I mean, Steven Spielberg also a few years ago said a lot about Netflix as well. And here you see him, you know, he's like, oh, okay,
we'll do some stuff together.
You know, he's working with them. So it's not impossible. However, with everyone else that's out there, Christopher Nolan is such a cerebral storyteller.
Oh, that's a good one. Say that again. That's perfect, the way you just said that.
He's a cerebral storyteller. You really got to think about his movies. And he goes, it's an understatement to say he goes deep. And Netflix turns out great stuff. They have great stuff. I don't necessarily know that they're the best place for the type of art that he makes.
Right.
Honestly, with everything else, because he's so exclusive. And when you start to dish stuff out, and depending on the platform, the rarity of the art form might be affected. Personally, if I were to think of a streaming, you know, there's so many different studios, but I almost want to say Apple would be a better choice for him if anyone wanted him.
Apple has already demonstrated that they are willing to incorporate an exclusive theatrical window with their stuff.
Yes.
So that gives them, and they've got way more money than Netflix does.
Yes, and the type of movies that are on their platform are more thoughtful and more in the line, not exactly the level, but in the line of a Christopher Nolan film. If I were to watch him and while being on the Apple platform, I would feel like he's at home there. Whereas if I see something on Netflix, and trust me, I love Netflix. They make such great content. I'm not trashing on them. I just don't feel like Netflix would be the right fit in terms of their pacing and how much they're putting out. Look, when I'm scrolling on Netflix, I can scroll for hours. When I'm scrolling on Apple, it's only a few minutes until I get to the end of the catalog that they have right now. I mean, I know they're only a few years in, but I'm like, oh, I'm back to the beginning. Oh, okay. And what I see there is it's more thoughtful content.
Because that's the other thing. We were talking about Universal, Paramount, but Apple has all the money in the world. They have demonstrated they're willing to entertain full theatrical exclusive windows first before it becoming the home. Because they're doing that with several.
They're doing
films.
great with the Emmys. They're doing great with nominations. Yeah.
Amazon also. I mean, Amazon and Apple could buy and sell Disney, Netflix, and all the other Hollywood studios 10 times over if they want. So Amazon has shown a commitment to this. They have put their own movies in theatrical exclusive windows. Yeah. So they've got to be a player too. I honestly think Christopher Nolan would consider going with an Apple TV Plus, with a Peacock, if they're willing to do, well, obviously because they're Universal, they would do an exclusive theatrical window, with an Amazon and with a Netflix. If any of those companies are willing to say, on top of the dump trucks of Spanish gold that they will back up to Christopher Nolan's house.
Right.
If they are willing to say to him, we will commit to you that your films get an exclusive theatrical window prior to coming on our service, I think they're as much in the running as any other studio. And I think Netflix is included in that. The question is Netflix willing to bend the knee? Is Netflix willing to bend the knee? And it sounds like from Stuber's word that maybe he is. He's willing to do that.
I think he would be willing. I think that would be the offer that he's making. You can't come to Christopher Nolan and say we're only going to put it. People, the first time someone sees this amazing film that's so thoughtful and deep is going to be on their couch. He's not going to play that game with you.
He can arrange a lunch with Nolan, and they can sit down, and Nolan would say, before you get started, are you offering me an exclusive theatrical window? The moment
otherwise,
Stuber
why
says
am
no,
I here?
Yeah, he's gone. He's up and out the door calling his Uber. I mean, that's it. His Stuber Uber.
Yeah.
So there you go. Anyway, guys, the question is for you. I think this is fascinating stuff. You can probably tell I find this incredibly fascinating. What is going to happen with Christopher Nolan? Would Netflix actually change their policy and have a full theatrical window movie before coming to Netflix? Never done it before. Would they do it for Christopher Nolan? He's the biggest fish. He's the biggest prize there is right now. What do you guys think about this? Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Deep breath. That was a lot of topics to cover today here, guys.
So much happening. So much drama. I feel like it's my sophomore year in high school.
So, did you have a lot of drama in high school? Were you one of those girls?
No, I was that weirdo girl that was just listening to everyone else's stuff because I was not.
Were you living vicariously through their drama?
Yeah, definitely.
I was a
weirdo. I was
the wallflower in high school.
I played varsity. I walked on to varsity basketball as a freshman.
Oh, look at that.
My knees can't do anything that I used to do then. But no, I was not cool, but you know, people knew me because I was an athlete and I was a really good athlete, but I was nerdy. I was the one that wanted to talk about characters and shows and Batman animated series and who are you?
Anyway, we're going to move into our live comments and questions, but before we do, we've had Kimberly here for an hour and a half of the show. Kimberly, thank you so much for driving down to do this with us. Always awesome to have you here. In the meantime, where can people follow you and all your good stuff online?
Yeah, you guys can follow me on Instagram at WasGoodKimberly. It's WUZKimberly. Yeah.
And Kimberly, awesome. Yep. Again, we'll talk to you again soon. Thanks for being here. We'll talk to you soon. All right, guys, that is Kimberly Curran. Make sure you are following her on all the various social medias. And of course, we'll have her back here again soon. But for now, we've got some time left in the show. So let's go on over and start taking your live comments and questions, shall we? We're going to get things started off here with Sam Weiser Gamgee, who writes, "Hey, John, clarification on my message about Cinemark's device for the deaf. Yes, they still use it. Its base fits in the cup holder. Bye, Kim. But the text screen is on an extension that puts the words on level with the bottom of the movie. Yeah, you got to pull it. You got to pull it hard. She's having trouble with the door. You got to give it a little. Its base fits in the cup holder of the text screen, is on an extension that puts the words on level with the bottom of the movie screen. No head bobbing. Thanks. So we've been talking about that recently because somebody brought up on the show recently that, you know, they have a deaf brother and it's frustrating not being able to go to the theater, but there are theaters that do have those. Cinemark, and apparently AMC has it as well. If you ask the front desk about the device that they have that will subtitle the movie for you on that device. So check with your local theater when you go, and thanks for the update on that, Sam Weiser. Appreciate that. All right, next up, we got Willow, who writes, I'm making my way through Star Trek Enterprise for the first time. I like that show. And just recently I saw the episode where Erin Cummings, who is now in King Richard, where Erin Cummings briefly makes her appearance. I know that you must have told this story before, but I missed it. How did you get to know Erin? All right, so the way Erin and I have been friends for over 10 years now, and the way we met was, let me see if I can find this here. The way Erin and I met is that I was doing the Masters of the Web stuff at Comic-Con, as I do every year. Now, Erin was part of a trio of girls who had made this movie called Bitch Slap. And the cast and crew of Bitch Slap went to Comic-Con to try to promote their film Bitch Slap. It had Kevin Sorbo. It had Lucy Lawless in it. It had a bunch of other people in it as well. And that's Erin with the big gun in her hand. Anyway, so, and by the way, 2 of these 3 girls were in my movie, The Anniversary. Anyway, so they were promoting this movie, Bitch Slap. And they came to my Masters of the Web panel, because I do this Masters of the Web panel every year. And they came to the panel, and they stood at the back, dressed up in like some of their skimpy, bitch slap outfits that they had and stuff like that. So they were there, and then they came up and talked to us afterwards. And they were saying, we're here promoting this movie, Bitch Slap. It's got Lucy Lawless in it and blah, blah, blah. And they asked if they could come to our Masters of the Web party afterwards. So we said, sure. So we invited them to the Masters of the Web party that was happening later that night on a rooftop in San Diego. Always a lot of fun. And they came, and that's how we met. And we just became friends, and we kept in touch. And then when I was making my movie, The Anniversary, I actually reached out to Erin and one of the other girls in the movie. And I said, hey, I've got 2 roles that would be perfect for you guys. Would you mind coming and doing them for my little, personal project movie that I'm making? And they said yes. And then we all just became friends. And we have known each other ever since. So that's how Erin and I got to know each other. And if you get a chance to watch Bitch Slap, do. It's actually, it's stupid fun. It's just stupid and dumb. But it is wild and wacky. It's got a little bit of a Sin City kind of DNA to it, but much lower budget. It's just crazy and dumb and a lot of fun. So I have always enjoyed it. All right. Anyway, that down. That's how Erin and I know each other. Okay, next up. We've got Joey who writes, with the rumor of Ezra and Thrawn being cast in the upcoming Ahsoka show, what do you think are the odds of the rest of the crew, Hera, Sabine, Zeb, and other members from Rebels may end up being in the Ahsoka show? Well, I mean, not bad, especially Sabine. Sabine, because remember, at the end of Rebels, Sabine is the one who goes off with Ahsoka in search of Ezra. So I would actually say there's probably a pretty decent chance that we're going to see Sabine in the Ahsoka show. Now that we definitely know it revolves around finding Ezra and Thrawn and all that kind of stuff, I think it would be pretty good. As far as Hera, Zeb, maybe even a return of Freddie Prinze Jr., I'd give it a chance, but a lower chance, like in the 10 to 20% range. But as far as Sabine goes, I'd give Sabine being in the show as well, whether it's a big part or a tiny little part. I'd give Sabine being in it like a 60% chance. Again, no insider information. That's just me guessing. All right, next up. We got Andy Hong who writes, how is Superman not going to be in the Flash film? It makes no sense. You need him in it. Well, I don't know that you need Superman to be in the Flash movie. Otherwise, who's going to tell Supergirl that the world... I see what you're doing. Who's going to tell Supergirl that the world doesn't need him when it has her? This question is brought to you by the showrunners and writers of the Arrowverse. I see what you did there, Andy. Sorry, guys. Just pulling out my new can of Zevia Cola. Zevia, sponsor me, you cheap, insufferable sons of bitches. Anyway, yeah, they're never going to sponsor me. But... yeah, I mean, of course, that's what the Arrowverse did. They just turned Superman to a giant jobber. I did wonder if we'll see. By the way, you didn't hear it from me. I don't think it's impossible that we may see Henry Cavill in the Flash movie. You didn't hear it from me. And I am definitely, let's be clear, I am definitely not saying that is what is going to happen. Just be clear. All I'm saying is, I'm not going to be shocked, and I don't think anybody should be shocked, if we're watching the Flash movie and a certain Kryptonian whose face looks just like the face of that guy, and that all you can see is this part of my Henry Cavill standee. But I'm just saying, don't be shocked if when we're watching Flash, a certain Kryptonian shows up who may happen to look a lot like Henry Cavill. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's going to happen. Be very clear. Just, yeah, there's that. All right. And next up, Andy also writes, have you seen the Fear Street trilogy on Netflix that was released week by week? They were a lot of fun to watch, and I was amazed by the competent vision of director Lee Janik. I hope to see more from her, and I hope she could oversee a cinematic universe. I have not watched it, but I have become fascinated by it. So they've got this Fear Street trilogy, and they released them in reverse chronological order, week after week. Now, I have told you guys in the past that within the next couple of years, be ready to see Netflix start to adopt the weekly release schedule of their shows, just like Disney's now doing and HBO is doing and things like that, because they're realizing, hey, we get much better results when we release them week by week instead of dropping them all at once. You're going to see Netflix do it in the next couple of years. I don't know if it's going to happen in the next 6 months. I don't know if it's going to happen, 36 months from now, but it's coming. And I think this was a little test of theirs. I honestly think this Fear Street thing, releasing the movies 1 week apart, was a little bit of a test for them. And apparently the results were really good. So listen, I skipped out on it because the trailers honestly didn't look all that great to me, but I keep hearing from people like you, Andy, that they're actually pretty good. So I think Ann and I were talking about the other day, I think we're going to sit down. This is a really busy weekend because Ann and I are like going to we're going to a Clueless anniversary special screening. And then on Saturday night, Ann and I are going to the Hollywood Bowl for a Princess Bride live and in concert. So they're going to play the movie on the screen without the soundtrack, like without the music soundtrack. And then they're going to have a full orchestra there playing the music along with it. I love those things. So we're going to do that. And then we got big plans on Sunday. So I don't know when we're going to get around to watching it, but we are going to watch it. And because people like you, Andy, keep putting on my radar. So thanks for that. All right, next up, we've got Alex Detman who writes, hey, John. It was me who asked you about the validity of the new Predator movie, and it takes place in the era of the Apache Indians. I think it was the Comanche, but anyway. And will follow a young female who notices that her tribe is being hunted during her brother's rite of passage. So we just heard the other day, we talked about on the show yesterday that there is a new Predator movie. It's almost completely done, finished shooting. And they just said, they haven't told us when it's happening. They just said it's early. It's a prequel to the other Predator movie, but they still haven't said what timeline. Now, there were rumors going around before that I had completely forgotten about. There were rumors going around before that the new Predator would be looking like during, it would set place where the Predator's hunting a Native American, right? During that era, like pre-Columbus era. So I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know if that's what they're doing, but a lot of people are now speculating that that's what it's going to be. All right, next up. Alex writes, forgive my post earlier, but it's not Apache Warriors, it's Comanche, which I also heard. All right. That the film follows, and it's also supposed to be Predator's first hunt on Earth, which I think sounds cool. But how did you relay that to the audience without it being cheesy? First of all, we got to know that this is not confirmed. That's the rumor, but that's not been confirmed. But that might not be it at all. For all we know, it's going to be cavemen. Or it could be, I just don't know. I have no idea. But if it is, every movie is a challenge to figure out a way to market that. Marketing that could be kind of cheesy. They got to overcome the cheesiness and the bad will about the last Predator movie that Shane Black directed. I was so looking forward to that movie because I love Shane Black, and that last Predator movie was terrible. I thought for sure it was going to be great, and it was terrible, but we'll see how that goes. All right, next up. Chuck the Mystery writes, hey, John. Watched a trailer yesterday that came out of nowhere and really got me excited. The Card Counter, yes, with Oscar Isaac and Willem Dafoe. Paul Schrader, who wrote Taxi Driver, along with one of my favorites, American Gigolo, is behind it. Scorsese is the executive producer. Yeah, and listen, I'm obviously a big poker guy. I play a lot of poker. So anytime a poker movie kind of comes along, it's going to get my interest. But Ty Sheridan is also in this movie, and he looks really good in it. I'll tell you what, the trailer looks awesome. It is an awesome looking trailer. And Oscar Isaac looks incredible. And by the way, Tiffany Haddish is in it as well. And ever since Girls Trip, I've been a big Tiffany Haddish fan. I like her stand-up comedy. I haven't loved really any of her other movies, but I loved her in Girls Trip, and I love her stand-up comedy. And seeing her and Oscar Isaac play off each other is kind of fun to see. So yeah, it's called the card counter. I think it actually looks pretty damn good. So I'm going to be checking that one out for sure. All right, next up, we've got Anthony R. who writes, 1 of 2. The other day, Rob answered my question in your place. I had asked if you guys would do an end of the year review of Phase 4 so far, after Spider-Man's release. He loved the idea and told me to hold you guys to that. By that time, we would have had a whole bunch of Disney Plus shows and 4 movies. I think a state of the MCU so far video would be awesome. And with much more information, it would be appropriate to start predicting where Phase 4 is actually heading. What say you? Yeah, that's possible, because by the time we get to the end of the year, we will have had WandaVision, Falcon and Winter Soldier, Loki, Hawkeye, Shang-Chi, Eternals, Spider-Man No Way Home, and probably Ms. Marvel. So that's going to be 8 properties, right? To do a retrospective looking back at the year that was with Marvel, the first year that they launched television series, like where Marvel proper launched television series with WandaVision and things like that on Disney Plus, that's probably not a bad idea. So yeah, I like the idea, Anthony. I think we will probably do that. I think that's a pretty good idea. Thanks for sharing it, man. All right, next up, we got Sam Weiser Gamgee who writes, hey, John, clarification on my message about Cinemark's device for the deaf. Yes, they still use it. Its base fits the cup holder. You were just telling us this. But the text screen is on an extension that puts the words on level with the bottom of the movie screen. No head bobbing. Oh, that's good to know, because I was thinking, okay, so you got a text screen in the cup holder, so you're having to look down at the screen and then look up at the movies, but it's got an extension to put it up right about here, so you're just doing this instead of doing this. That's good to know. That makes it much more practical to use. Thank you for giving me that heads up, Samwise. All right, next up, we got Willow who writes, I'm making my way through Star Trek Enterprise for the first time. Wait a second. We just answered this. How do you get to know Erin? Did I double up on some questions here? I think we accidentally doubled up on some questions here. So we did Andy's questions. We did Alex's questions. We did Chuck the Mysteries questions. Rob answering the questions. All right. I think this is a new one, right? Okay, yes, this is a new one. Anton Riley writes, sorry about the double up there, guys. When I saw Erin in the King Richard trailer, I wanted to cue up that one meme of Leonardo DiCaprio in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood pointing at the TV screen, was like, hey, our girl Erin is in this. Okay, wait a minute. Somebody actually did that. Let me see if I can bring up my Twitter, because I put up on Twitter, I put up this tweet. That was, hey, look who's in the new Will Smith King Richard trailer. It's our girl Erin Cummings, which was great to see. And like a lot of you guys engaged that one and retweeted it, which is great. But one of the comments, which was great, that somebody put in, where is it? Was this one. I think this is the exact one you're talking about. I love this comment that somebody put in. When Erin Cummings pops up on screen, everybody who watches the John Campea show instantly was like Leonardo DiCaprio from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I loved that. I loved it. I thought that was great. So thanks for bringing that up. All right, next up. Oh, sorry, there was a part 2 to that. But I wanted to say this about King Richard. I feel like Will Smith is going to get Oscar buzz for this movie. And listen, we got to see the movie first before we start talking Oscar buzz. But like I said myself, I mean, this feels like he's going for an Oscar nomination, because it looks like his performance is going to be incredible. Anyway, Oscar buzz for this movie, as long as it's not a train wreck. This looks like the kind of movie that usually gets a lot of Oscar nods. They love stuff based on a true story. They love fiction. They love true stories, whatever. They just love good movies. But I'll tell you what, again, let's not get ahead of ourselves about Oscar buzz. We haven't seen the movie yet, but I am with you, though. I mean, just what the little taste we got does kind of look like Big Willie is absolutely going for another Oscar nomination. I mean, that's kind of what it looks like. All right, next up. The Wakandan Forever writes, I never knew it, but Regal has dollar movies for families on Tuesday and Wednesdays. I didn't know that during the summer. I saw The Boss Baby. I skipped that one. It got me thinking, why do adults get to tell us what to do? Babies of the world unite. You have nothing to lose but your cribs. You know what? I have to admit, I dodged the Boss Baby films. Nothing about them They reminded me of poor man's versions of the live action Look Who's Talking movies. So I kind of dodged those ones, I must admit. But that is a great thing to know, Wakandan. Like, I never knew about this. They have dollar movies on Tuesdays and Wednesdays for families. That sounds great. I never knew about that. I'm going to have to look into that. And by the way, Dragon10 sends in a super chat badge in the live chat. Thank you, Dragon10. I appreciate that very much, man. All right, next up. We go to free Austin Matthews. Austin Matthews is quite happy being a Toronto Maple Leaf. Thank you. Anyway, I love John Walker. That's the Walmart Captain America. He's such a complex character. I really do like the character too. I really do. People totally overlook the fact that he chose to try and save the bus over chasing Carly for vengeance. I didn't overlook that. I made a big deal out of that. I thought that was great. I want him to be one of those characters that's tragically messed up, but goes out heroically. Listen, I thought that was honestly one of the best moments of Falcon and Winter Soldier. When the true nature of the guy, look, he may be misguided. He may be messed up. He'll make wrong decisions. He'll do the wrong things, but he wants to do the right thing. He wants to be a hero. And I thought that moment in Falcon and Winter Soldier was so pivotal when he could choose to chase after the person that he holds responsible for the death of his best friend, or he could save the people in the truck. And that was that was his come to Jesus moment, right? That was his come to Jesus moment. He made that choice. That I'm going to put my personal, and he didn't always do this in the show, but in that moment, he put aside his own personal issues, his own personal rage, his own personal need for vengeance. He put it aside. He said, I'm going to be the hero. And maybe nobody will see it. Maybe nobody will notice. Maybe I'll get no credit for it. But I'm going to save these people on the truck because that's what heroes do. And he did it. It wasn't Sam who saved the people on the truck. Because if it wasn't for Walker, that truck would have fallen off there, hit the ground, and killed everybody inside long before Sam showed up. Sure, Sam had the big glory moment where, oh, look, he's using the rockets and the wings to hold up the truck, but they would have already been dead if it wasn't for Walker. So yeah, I thought that was, I did think that was a fabulous moment in the show. I thought it was a great moment, and it will add to the complexity of the character as he goes on in the MCU to make more bad decisions. Because I believe we're going to see him make more bad decisions. I mean, look, he's in with Elaine, right? He's working for Elaine now, so you know some bad things are going to happen. But I did think it was a great moment for the character. All right, next up, we've got Dakota, who writes, depending on when and if they make a new Twilight movie, oh, they're not going to make another Twilight movie. What kind of payday do you think Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart could see? Considering Batman being a hit and a possible Oscar nod for Kristen Stewart for her Diana pick, a percentage or 20 million? Yeah, make no mistake about it, there won't be another Twilight movie. And if there is, it won't have Robert Pattinson or Kristen Stewart. Now, listen, I've heard from people who have seen footage and have seen the movie. There is some early Oscar whispers going on about Kristen Stewart for that Princess Diana pick. Now, I haven't seen it myself, so I can't vouch for it. But I am hearing early whispers that she may be a serious contender for an Oscar nomination for her acting. I've contended for a long time. She's actually a really good actress. She's not always in the best movies. Charlie's Angels. She's not always in great movies, but she is a great actress. She really is. Robert Pattinson has become one of the most desirable actors in Hollywood. Directors are all going after this guy. They all want to work with him. The question isn't, could a studio want to make another Twilight movie? Of course they could. But I am telling you right now, it has taken Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart years to shed the stigma of Twilight that's been on them. Even today, like when Robert Pattinson got cast as Batman, all these people who don't actually watch many movies and had never seen all these incredible indie films that Robert Pattinson has done over the past 7, 8, 9 years, that has shown he's one of the best in the business right now and why all the directors want to work with him. They even still today, this many years later, as soon as they cast Robert Pattinson, all the surface level movie fans came out and go, wait, they got the Twilight boy? they got Twilight Boy to play Batman. Why are they getting Twilight Boy? Because they've never seen the other incredible work he's done, because he still had that stigma attached with him. Still had that stigma. Kristen Stewart has also been worked really, really hard to try to get over that stigma. And she partially herself to blame because she hasn't made as good decisions as Robert Pattinson has. But I'm telling you, she has got the goods when it comes to pure acting talent. She just does. I don't care if you like that or not. It's the fact. I mean, it's like anything in movies, subjective, but she's got the goods, man. She can act. And everything we're hearing coming out of this Princess Diana pick, which I myself said, man, casting Kristen Stewart to play Princess Diana, that's an odd choice. But everything I'm hearing about is that it's amazing. And that she's amazing in it. Again, I can't vouch for it because I haven't seen it myself. Maybe I'll love it. Maybe I'll hate it. I don't know. But I feel very, very safe in saying this, Dakota. There is no way in holy hell, no way in holy hell that either Robert Pattinson or Kristen Stewart, after all they have been through the last number of years, to try to move on from the Twilight era. Not that they hated their Twilight. I mean, Twilight is what made them famous. But it's also time for them to move on from that. And they have worked so hard and gone through so many years of trying to shake off that Twilight stigma. There is no way they come back to do another one. You could offer them $50 million each. They wouldn't come back for it. There's just no way. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. It doesn't matter how much money you offer them. They're not coming back. I mean, obviously there is a dollar figure, but there's no dollar figure that an actual real life studio would pay that could possibly bring them back. It's just not going to happen. All right, next up. Running out of time here, so just got time for one or two more here, guys. Ryan G writes, "Hey, John. Sorry about my comment on Leslie Grace on becoming Batgirl. I just don't think she's the right fit for the role. Or then again, maybe she is. Who knows, really? We will see." But see, that's the thing, Ryan. You and we don't know if she's the right fit for the role because neither you or I know the role. We don't know the role. I always bring up obviously Leslie Grace is playing Batgirl, but I keep bringing up the Joker thing, but the Joker thing is a great example. Look at Jared Leto's Joker, Jack Nicholson's Joker, Heath Ledger's Joker, and Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. They're four totally different iterations. Like they're all essentially at their core the Joker, yes. But they are four completely different manifestations of that character. And guess what? As great as Jack was as Joker in Tim Burton's Batman, I don't know that he would have been a very good Suicide Squad Joker. As great as Joaquin Phoenix was in his Joker, I don't know that he would have been a very good fit for Jack Nicholson's Joker. It all depends. In talking about fit, you have to know how are the screenwriters writing this character? What's their iteration of this character looking like? What's their DNA like? And until you know that script and you know what character they're really going for, it's impossible for you and I to say whether this actress or that actress is the right fit for this Batgirl. Because I haven't read the script and you haven't read the script. So that's why when people say to me, you know, about X actor and X role, my answer is always the same. All I care about, since I haven't read the script yet, all I care about is the actor or actress you're looking at a bona fide, talented actor or actress? And when I saw Leslie Grace in The Heights, that's enough for me. She's clearly a very gifted actress. I'm not saying she's one of the top 10 actresses in the world, not at all, but she's clearly very gifted and she's clearly got a lot of talent. So if I know she's got talent and the people casting it who actually know what this character's supposed to be like say she's a good fit for it, then all I can do right now is say, okay. The only time I get upset at castings is when I think they're casting somebody who's not very talented. That's the only time I get worried about casting. But Leslie Grace is a very talented girl. And listen, when Batgirl comes out, maybe we'll find out that the way they wrote Batgirl was totally not a good fit for Leslie Grace. Maybe we'll find that out. Or maybe we'll find out the opposite. Who knows? But until then, we just don't know, right? We can only go off of, do we think this person is talented? And I personally think she's pretty talented. All right. Last question we'll do today, guys, will come to us from Ryan G, who writes, "Hey, John, I love all these movie trailers that came out this week. Dexter." Well, that's not a movie trailer, but still very excited for the Dexter trailer. "Dexter, Ghostbusters Afterlife, Shang-Chi, King Richard. Do a Dexter spoiler episode per week. It will be good, and I hope Will Smith gets his first Oscar for this movie." Yeah, now Will Smith has been nominated for an Oscar before. He just has never won one. Yeah, that's been a question about whether or not, because, you know, we do some shows, we will do weekly spoiler reviews, right? Like for obviously all the MCU shows, we did weekly spoiler reviews. We do weekly spoiler reviews for Mandalorian and stuff like that. A lot of people have been suggesting that we do it for Dexter. The only two problems with that is, number one, I don't know how many of you guys are actually going to watch Dexter. And number two, which is kind of connected to part one, is that it's on Showtime. And not everybody has Showtime. Like, I mean, not everybody has Disney Plus either, but a lot more people have Disney Plus than have Showtime. So I don't know. I am considering it. You guys will have to let me know if you think we should do a weekly Dexter spoiler review like we do for Mandalorian and WandaVision and Loki and things like that. You guys will have to let me know. I just don't know that enough of you guys actually have like Showtime or will have access to it, or if you're planning on watching it. I just know I am personally planning on watching the hell out of Dexter. I am totally excited about that. All right, guys, listen. There are still more questions to come from Ryan G, Chloe Fanning, BK Dan, and others. Do not worry, guys. I'm going to do a companion video a little bit later today, and there's actually not too many questions left, so we're going to get all caught up on all the questions that we didn't get around to quite yet. So if you send one in and you didn't see it answered yet, just come on back for our companion video a little bit later today, and you should see it addressed there. By the way, guys, don't forget, you can send in a comment or question to be read on the live comment or questions part of time anytime. The earlier you send them in, the earlier they get read. So you can even now today send in one at www.streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip. Not only are you going to get your comment or question read on the show or a companion video, if they're of course appropriate to be read on our show, but it's actually a practical way that you guys help support our channel, and we can have people like Kimberly and Robert Meyer Burnett and Ray and Greg and Scott and all that kind of stuff. You guys actually support the show, so thank you guys so much for that. All right, guys, that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of our little day, guys. Really appreciate it. Thanks to Kimberly Kern for coming down. Thanks to all you guys who watched live and for giving us an extra half hour to get started as we waited for Kim to get here. And a very special thank you to all you guys who sent in those live comments and questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, you supported this channel as you did it. And again, all of us here at the show, thank you guys so much for that support. Okay, guys, remember to do the four main things. Stay smart, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and please take care of the people around you. That'll do it for me for now, guys. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.